So the second lecture of the course Contrastive Grammar of English and Ukrainian is devoted to the nominative parts of speech, the noun, and mostly the noun. Generally, we can speak about maybe a little bit or partially about the adjectives and pronouns, but mostly during the seminars. Well, so the outline. Here, as you can see, the plan of our work. Today, we are going to discuss the noun and its classification, compare things in both languages, grammatical categories of the noun also in both languages, among which we are going to discuss the case, the number, and the gender, and certainly compare things and point out the peculiarities that are common and isomorphic and allomorphic in terms of the comparative grammar. To start with, of course, we should refresh our memory on the fact that we have agreed that language, generally, yeah, we have some idea about language and how we should describe it. So the linguists have borrowed this metaphor of language as a system from the theory of systems and the sciences about signs, and it works nicely because we generally understand what is a system. It is some number of items that are connected between each other somehow, and that is why if they are connected and can be classified, we can group these items, these units, and we can see the structure of the system. And the most important thing is that the system, it is when these items that compose the system, they are not just a number of something, multitude, yeah, a list of something. No, they are connected to perform some function. For example, if it is a language and we consider it to be a system, then it consists of some units like words, for example, or smaller, those units of which the words are composed. For example, morphemes, suffixes, prefixes, roots, endings, and so on. Well, and so out of words, we can compose larger units like phrases, word combinations, parts of the sentence and the sentences, and out of the sentences, of course, the texts. So that is how, yes, we have some hierarchy of levels of language, so we can speak about some structure. And if we have agreed already what is a language, now we can compare two languages or more languages, yeah, and so on. Because before that, once we haven't discussed the rules, generally not describe what it is and the rules of comparison, so then it's useless to start doing, yeah, because then we cannot find logics. So if we have to speak about some system, it means that we speak about some structures, it means that we speak about some units. Now we can compare things, for example, in two languages, Ukrainian and English. We can calculate, for example, the words and compare where we have more words and less words. We can calculate, for example, the suffixes or prefixes or endings and can compare how they are different or maybe similar. We can compare also the functions of words in the sentence. What we can do with, for example, if we have classified into nouns, we can compare things whether we have nouns in one language and in the other, and whether they can express the same or they can express something different and function differently. So having this basis for comparison, now we can start. And of course, we keep in mind, just for you to understand that the language, it's not only grammar, it is a complex unit that comprises the grammar, yes, for example, here it is sound system, phonetics. That is why you have different disciplines that study the sounding of language, that study grammar. So these are the rules of combining different elements within some units. And of course, the words itself, what they can mean. So this is about lexicology. So here we are with you here. But you should understand that all these cannot exist separately. So grammar doesn't exist without words or lexical meaning, and both of them do not exist without sounding. Yeah, because the language, if it's not dead, it's a live language, and we compare with your modern languages, then of course they have some sounding that also influences and correlates with grammar, with the meaning, and so on. For example, we can differentiate the meaning of the word by the stress. For example, um, uh, well, uh, to command, yes, and a comment. So we can compare things by stressing differently, by hearing. The parts of speech we differentiate, for example, nouns and verbs. Okay, so that is, I explain you that no aspect, it is hypostasis. Hypostasis is something inseparable. We can speak and describe separately, but it is part of something, yeah? So language has three hypostases, like God, you know, three hypostases. Well, so everything is here the same. We can compare also in this respect. So our course, you and me, we are here in this, yeah, field of language. We're trying to describe this subsystem because these are all systems of this huge system of language, yeah. So thus we can speak about subsystem. So we are here in this subsystem trying to describe and compare things in English and in Ukrainian, and to show you more, even for you to understand what is a language. So it, why we consider it to be a system. Yeah, it's useful, such a useful metaphor that can explain us general what is a language, because it shows how elements are connected. We start with some phone or phoneme, uh, in language, yeah, and out of these phonemes, we compose them together and create larger units, for example, suffixes, morphemes, yeah, root morphemes or affixal morphemes like suffixal and prefixal, or endings and so on, but they are composed of phones, yeah, first of all. Then out of morphemes, when we speak about grammar, we know the rules of uh, composing them together, putting them together in order to create larger unit. For example, suffixes are put before root, after root, and the prefixes before it. So, and then it is because of grammar rules. We have learned that, and we use that, and we compose the units like words that are clear to everybody using this language. Because when we don't know this, we can just put in any place and then nobody can understand us. So first we learn grammar rules. We know morphology, it is units, this, yeah, of which we compose some larger units, and then we combine them together. So grammar, it is morphology, so knowledge about units that we use to compose larger units. And syntax, it is rules of their comparison, yeah, composition. So then when we have learned that and we have composed sentences, we can speak about some meaning that is expressed within the sentence, some idea, some situation, some feeling, and so on. And what's for, within which context and situation, it is pragmatics that learns and deals with these aspects of language. And then we go to the text, discourse analysis, and text linguistics. That is, that you are going to learn when you are a little bit um, proficient in this. Yes, so you have already the competencies of phonetics and grammar. Then you will speak about larger units and the disciplines that can learn them. Well, let's return to our grammar. So what is it? As I mentioned, grammar comprises like big house within which we deal with meaning of words. So we should, of course, know semantics or lexicology. So if you have already learned lexicology, that's good. Maybe you parallelly learn. That's also good because everything is interconnected, as I mentioned in language. Phonology, because it influences and helps us to differentiate different meanings and grammatical as well, whether it ends in S, where yes, we hear, or it is apostrophe S because it is the genitive case, or it's apostrophe S because it is contracted form of is, or it's apostrophe S because it's contracted form of has in perfect form, and so on. So all these deals with phonology because it sounded the same, but within some context, within syntactical context, within the sentence, yeah, we differentiate what we deal with. Ending as this apostrophe s as the formant of the genitive case, or it is the contracted forms of the verbs to have and to be. Okay, and morphology, of course. So we shall start with morphology, and then we deal with syntax. But syntax, yes, comprises all these, because morphology deals with language that is fixed in dictionaries. The words you can open and have a look at meaning and structure, plurality, singularity, different peculiarities, grammatical, yeah, you can observe in the dictionary. But once you use this word already in the sentence, it means that you don't speak about the language. It's already your speech because so these are different things. So the same word in the dictionary, just without context, it can mean one thing, but within the context, when once you use it, it can mean something else, additional or different, not fixed in the dictionary because, for example, it is a slang and it's not fixed in the dictionary for some reasons. Maybe the dictionary is old, or maybe just it's a new slang. Okay, so then nevertheless, they are connected together. Here you can see morphology versus syntax in order to differentiate things. So morphology studies the structure of words, and not only words. Yeah, in fact, morphology deals with the structure. So that is how something is composed. It can be smaller unit than a word, or it can be larger unit than a word. For example, a phrase or a sentence. We can comprise it into parts. Well, that is morphology, when we can touch each of parts, separate, yes, and have a look at the details of this unit. Then syntax studies the structure of the sentences mostly, because it is, but not only. So generally, it's about the rules of combination. That is why you can come across this word syntax in IT technologies. Yeah, once you deal with programming or languages of programming, so then you can come across this word syntax because it means rules of combining together something. Okay. So usually when we speak about the language, it is about the sense. That is why like simplified version. So morphemes, these are the smallest units of meaningful units of language because there are smaller units. These are phonemes, but they don't have meaning. So just p, t, they say as nothing about. They don't have meaning. They acquire meaning only within combination of to, from, yes, and so on. So we have a combination of phonemes that can compose morphemes. And if we speak about more syntax, then we speak about the smallest unit, the word, because the word can already perform the function of the sentence. Yeah, so expressing the thought and idea. It can be one sentence can be composed of one word, but within the context. Yeah, so the word from the dictionary, it is morphology. because it has no context, it's just the word with the meaning. It is the part of language. And the word within the text as a sentence, it is already, yeah, unit of communication. That is why we speak about syntax. And we will speak about that in details when we learn syntax and the lecture devoted to that. Don't worry, we will return back to that peculiarity. And morphology studies how words are formed. Yeah, so the structure of the word. Morphological analysis presupposes that we take a word, cut it into parts, logical, of course, and see how many elements we have. 1, 2, 3, 5, and so on, and which role they perform, whether they are suffixes, prefixes, roots, endings, or maybe some other elements. Well, and syntax studies the word order and agreement. It is important, especially for the English language, but not only. Agreement for the Ukrainian language is essentially important. Well, let's move to the next and have a look into, yes, example. For example, we have the word preconditional, and from the morphological analysis, we should cut this word into elements. And then we can make the conclusion that we have one prefix here, one root, and two suffixes. So that word is really has a really complex structure. So proposal. So the same you can see, yeah, that is analysis. Consists of three elements. Well, if to speak about the language and its morphology, yes, for analysis of language when we cut it into the parts. So to do that, we should know everything about morphology first, because we should know um, each element and its meaning and its functions that it can perform. Then within the sentence, these elements, according to its possibilities and limits, they take the definite positions, not other positions, but they have fixed ones. That is why we can then easily separate into parts and understand the meaning of the sentence. So when you cannot translate the sentence, for example, not because you don't know the words. You know all the words, but you can't translate because you can't find the logics, because you don't know grammar well. You can understand that there is somewhere the subject, somewhere the verb, but where it is, for example, in English, when we don't have endings, it's quite difficult to find out because we have the practice of using the Ukrainian language because it's our native language. And within our native language, everything is regulated mostly by the agreement, which is expressed through the endings. And in English, we don't have endings. We have some of them, scarcity of endings, but not enough to understand the logics. And you should know well, very, very well grammar in order to translate. And to know and use efficiently syntax, you should before that learn each part of speech in details, so morphology, yeah? Because within this knowledge, you understand the possibilities of this word. If it is an adjective, so it can express this. It can have such forms. It can have these meanings. And of course, it can have all these positions within the sentence. Then it's easy to translate. Well, and there are people who not enough, and yes, generally during their academic study, they didn't pay attention enough to grammar. It's not that this is the subject that I give you, yes, that I deliver, but it's really grammar is one of the most important subjects. So without knowledge of grammar, and proper knowledge of grammar. So you think that you know, but in fact you haven't learned enough, didn't pay enough attention to all the details. It means that in future, as interpreters, as translators, you won't be successful enough. And very often, when you take the original and the translation and compare things, we do this with the students during our practice, so we can notice either the meaning is the opposite in translation, the wrong translation, yes, because of grammar not learned properly, or the whole passages are just skipped, not translated, they are absent in translation. Why? That is because the translator couldn't find the logics, couldn't find the equivalent, couldn't understand the sentences or sentence, and just decided to take it away. Well, so everything is about grammar, yeah? Well, now to the morphology. When we speak about morphology, as I mentioned, we speak about words. So we collect all words of the language together in one basket. And then we just, by taking from the basket and looking at it attentively, yeah, comparing. So, for example, we took a word and we change it and we understand, okay, so it can take the ending s to express plurality. It can express the feminine or masculine gender. It can have the genitive case. Well, we put it to the noun. Yeah, this I don't know, basket, another basket. Yeah, smaller one. And then we take another word and understand that by function, by form, by characteristics, it is an adjective. How we do that? We do that with the help of categories, grammatical categories. We should know that, okay, nouns, they can express gender, number, and case. So we take the word and see, okay, it can express all that. So it's a noun. We put it into green basket. Uh, so then we know something about adjective and its categories. We take a word, we see that it corresponds to all these characteristics, so we put it into the orange basket, and so on. And then we understand that all these words of the language that we have separated, yes, and now when we see the structure of the language, that it consists of some parts of speech. It's important to know because, as I mentioned, each part of speech has its particular function when it is used in the sentence, and then it has particular place in the sentence, okay? So then when we have, yes, this guy have separated everything, like Cinderella, yes, or everything is separated, everything is in order. We have found the basket for each word. Then we understand that they are connected because nouns, adjectives, verbs, yes, they are more valuable in language. These are huger baskets because they can express more meanings, they can express more functions in the sentence, and so on. And prepositions, they are important because they serve some yes functions. They are considered to be functional parts of speech. These are notional and these are functional because they have some service. They serve these notional parts of speech. And that is why they are also important, but have some different value, yes? Bigger and smaller, but important. And these notional parts of speech cannot exist without these functional parts of speech in the sentence because they communicate between each other and create the idea and transmit some situation, idea, emotion, or whatever we need in speech. So then it's really a system. Language is really a system because it consists of some elements that have their structure, that they have their place, their role, and they are connected between each other because they help to express some communicative idea, information. Well, now today we speak about the noun and compare things in the English and in the Ukrainian languages. Well, what is common? Yes, let's start with this. So we have mostly the same part of speech in two languages if we compare things. Yes, before moving to the noun, uh, when we compare things, we can notice that in the Ukrainian language we don't have only the article. And that is why it influences our general behavior and attitude to everything in the world, compared to, for example, British people or American people, to whom so deadlines and such like things, they're very important and they really matter. And we don't have this need to express everywhere with each noun, whether it is definite or indefinite, whether we mean something particular or something general. We don't need, we always just speak very vaguely. So table and table, yes, I don't know, ручка та ручка собі. So if we need, in some cases, we can say ця ручка. But generally, it's not in all the situations that we should express ця ручка чи якась ручка. So it's not important for us that much, yeah, as in English. In English, it's essential important. So we should have everywhere the articles. So that influences, that is the difference. But mostly when we speak about differentiation into the parts of speech, we can have 12, up to 12, 14 even in some, here it is, according to some stratifications of scientists. But when we speak about general terms, yes, we speak only about 8 essential parts of speech. So here I showed you. Why is that so? Because of the Latin language that historically you learn why. Yes, you learn with Natalia Petrovna why. The Latin was so essential and influenced, and we have such a division into the parts of speech. That is because Latin was the language of education for many, many centuries before the native languages came into their role. And then, okay, this system of division into the parts of speech already influenced the way we perceive. But nowadays, modern theories exist. They offer 12 parts of speech, 14 parts of speech, so and even 35 parts of speech. You can find such theories. We will discuss with you that during the course of the theoretical grammar a little bit later, yes. So first you should learn practical grammar and comparative grammar, and then the theoretical one. Why is that so? Because of peculiarities that we cannot, some words we cannot put either in this basket or in this basket, in green, orange, or pink, yeah? Okay, so some then scholars offer, to organize one more basket, so one more part of speech and put the words there. But it's not that easy to do because for each part of speech, you should have this number of grammatical categories. It is grammatical meaning that has the formal characteristics, at least 2 different forms. And once we organize one more basket, but there are not enough grammatical categories to describe this basket to clear show that it is a separate basket, because it looks like it is pink basket. And we have decided, okay, it looks like, but maybe not very like. Yeah, let's put it here. It's not good, you see, it doesn't work in that respect. So it should be clear enough that we can describe this basket. Either we cannot, once we cannot describe it, so then it's not part of speech. So nowadays we have clear 8 parts of speech. And for them, we have clear descriptions, okay? So, and clearly we can put the words here and there. And those words which look like, yes, pink or red or whatever basket, So, well, some art scientists put into these baskets, others into these baskets, and others offer some separate basket. Okay, that is why you can come across different subclasses of quantity of parts of speech. So, and today we move to the noun. It takes in both languages, hopefully, for comparison, we take modern Ukrainian language by Ponomarev. And for the English comparison, why I speak about the books and authors, because as I mentioned, different authors, they offer different classification, different approaches, different characteristics. They are not the same. You can take another book and can find a little bit different description of the same part of speech. Why? Okay, because we are people, so sometimes we do not agree with everyone. It's not that grammar is written and forever. No, it is vision. It is vision of somebody, of some scientist, of the language. And okay, if it's close to our vision, we take it, agree, and we follow, okay, this idea. Uh, so then the central place in both parts of speech we give to the noun and the verb. Today we speak about the noun, and peripheral to adjective and adverb because they describe the quality of nouns and verbs. And then those that substitute pronouns and numerals, and then prepositions and other parts of speech that serve the function. Yes, they serve the link, the function of linking the words together within the sentence. Okay, also some emotional parts of speech to express emotions and interjection, also in both languages. Modal verbs and link verbs also in both languages. So it's in general terms. Now the noun. So the noun, I suppose you know, it exists in all the languages of the world, the nouns and the verbs. So that is why they play the central part of speech, being the central part of speech, the central role being the central part of speech of the language, of any language, and Ukrainian and English as well. They express a lot of things. For example, some places, they nominate names, the organizations, ideas, feelings, and so on. And yeah, they can perform nearly all the functions in the sentence. Syntactical functions, I mean. For example, the subject of the sentence, it is the most often. Or, for example, it's not given here in the example, Tom Hanks is very versatile, and dogs can be extremely cute. And the most popular function, the second one, it is the object of the sentence. It's not here given. For example, he gave me a pen. A pen, it is object of the sentence. And one more very popular role in both languages, it is predicative. It's part of the predicate used after the linking verb. Link verb. It is my birthday. So each subject is birthday. It is predicate. So it's part of the predicate. Well, typical combinability in the English language, it is with the article, always, it's obligatory. It doesn't exist without an article in the English, while in Ukrainian it is allomorphic feature, yes, between the languages, because they don't have this common feature. It's different, something different. Then in both languages, left-hand connection of the noun. Yes, in preposition, we can come across different parts of speech in both languages. Prepositions, adjectives, possessive pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, some indefinite and negative pronouns. For example, yeah, with mom, on the table, adjectives, for example, green, leaf, possessive pronoun, mom's bag, a mom's bag, demonstrative pronoun, that bag, that pen, some indefinite pronouns, for example, some students, yeah, some it's which ones, indefinite, yeah, and negative, no water in the bottle, for example, no water. It is negative pronoun used in preposition. Also, we can find in both languages, it's typical in preposition, but sometimes we can put in postposition. So right hand connection uniquely with verbs, but it's not that, language is a system, but it is metaphor. We should keep in mind. Always. And it means that it's not strict, okay? All the time we have exceptions. Because when we speak about real systems, there are no exceptions. They have only one meaning, only one function, everything is definite. And for language, it is a metaphor. It helps us to describe the state of the situation and understand what is a language. But it's not purely system, of course. Everything is flexible and changeable, and so all the time we can context and a lot of things influence. For example, if it is a poetic language, easily we can say, for example, моя зоря або зоря моя, right? And so on. So the adjective can be used after the noun easily. Then, in both languages, so it's characteristic. So we say we use the terms, yeah, allomorphic. If it is different, yeah, and if we speak about similarities, so we speak about similarities and particularities. So this is similarity between the two languages, yeah, because in both cases, depending on the context, we can use in preposition or in postposition. The most common, of course, preposition. Well, and the typical syntactic functions. Well, in both languages, hopefully, and it's good, the noun can perform all the possible functions in the sentence. Have a look. Just peculiarity here it is about Ukrainian. It can be the subject. The car is outside. It can be an object. Give me a pen. Yes, it can be complement or predicative. Complement, it is object. Object, yes, I have given you the example. Complement, it is meant that in the function of predicative, like complement of the predicate, like part of the predicate. Then it is, for example, okay, for example, it is a table. Yes, so just simple example, let it be without any differences. As I mentioned, it is subject, is a table, it's predicate. Okay, when you learn practical grammar, you will understand that there are different standpoints, and in fact, it is not real subject, but functional subject in English, as well as it can be functional object. But these are, okay, things that we will discuss concerning the pronouns. And adverbial circumstances, okay, of different types. There are around 12 different subtypes of adverbial modifiers, and that is why we speak about nearly all of them that nouns can participate. The only thing about Ukrainian is that because we have endings and they clearly regulate grammatical categories and express them, then it's not typical for the Ukrainian, with the help of noun, express some quality. These are adjectives in Ukrainian that can do that. But in English, the noun very often performs that function. And knowing that, we can easily translate, because if you have a number of nouns in a row in English, of course, they don't have endings. We cannot see, okay, the connection between them. But you should keep in mind and know from grammar that the last noun, it is noun, and all before noun, they are adjectives. They perform adjectival, so they are nouns, of course, but they perform adjectival character. So it should be translated into Ukrainian like adjectives, because in Ukraine we have clearly this distinctive function of adjectives. Yes, to express qualities of nouns. As an example, um, okay, it's a computer bag, комп'ютерна сумка або сумка для комп'ютера. So we can translate a little bit differently. For example, yes, express this function of purpose for what it is used. In like prepositional phrase, noun plus noun in Ukraine, but with preposition. It's not that in preposition. It's never used as attribute in preposition. Не можемо сказати комп'ютер сумка, тому що це не передає значення. Okay. So then these are allomorphic features. I don't understand why so many students have appeared just right now. So all those who have appeared right now, you should all, I just once repeat, because I don't want it be on the recording, but now it will be, certainly. But for the next lectures, those who are late, you always should fix your presence in the chat. Otherwise, you won't obtain your points for being present during the lecture if you are late. So now put down pluses into the chat, please. Well, then once we can compare things, we have differentiated nouns, yes, and already what they are. We know that they have some common features in both languages. Now let's discuss in details which features. So we can classify all the nouns into proper and common according to their nomination, what they nominate. And if we speak about some places, names of persons, organizations, geographical names, then we write and show it with a capital letter, because it's something unique and personalized, and something that is common, describing such like things in reality. So then we consider them to be common and write them with the regular letter, not with the capital. Then we can also take into consideration a little bit of meaning already and speak about concrete and abstract meanings that can these nouns express. So if we can touch, weigh, feel, hear, yes, and see something, then we speak about something concrete. If we cannot do that and can only think about it in our mind, but nevertheless, there is a word because there is such meaning. Yes, there is something that we mean under that word. Then we speak about abstract notion. It's crucially important for the English language because of the articles that we should use. As you remember, in English, we have 3 articles: a, indefinite, definite, the, and 0 article. It exists, I mean that it has the meaning and rules of its usage, but it has no form. But it is 0 article and it is used with the nouns, you see. So that is why it's crucially important to know these meanings. For the Ukrainian language, it's not that vivid, and we do not learn it in these details when we learn grammar, okay? Because that we don't have an article. It's not yes, an important thing for us to express. We just learn at school, of course, that there are abstract notions and concrete, but not maybe pay that much attention why we should know about that. Yeah. So then plus nouns also for the English language, these are very important characteristics because If we speak about class nouns, it means that we have collection of such like items. In reality, we can count them, and it means that these nouns, they have singular and plural forms to express plurality or just oneness of something. And that is why we variate the usage of indefinite article to express one, zero article to express general meaning but in plural, or the definite article to express something definite. Now the material as well for the English is important because we do not use the article because we cannot count, and indefinite article is used when we can count and we express something one, but we have for them units of measure, and then we use indefinite article with these units of measure in the meaning of one, if we express meaning of one, of course. Well, and combined with this noun of material, a kilo of rice, for example, or a cup of flour, a meter of, I don't know, some wood, wooden, yes, panel, I don't know, something like that. So we use some measures. And not only, we will discuss later also peculiarities of the English language, but in Ukrainian, and that's not important. We have all of those classes of words as well. But just to know that maybe differentiate between the lexical meaning rather than grammatical. But for English, it is grammatical characteristic and very, very important because we choose the article according to these characteristics. And the collective nouns also exist in both languages. Hopefully, these classifications according to the meaning that can be expressed and the nominative function of the noun, they exist in both languages. So, but for English, it's more important from the viewpoint of grammar. For the Ukrainian, from the viewpoint of lexical characteristics. Okay. Well, so then the category of number. We move to this category. As I mentioned to you, the category, it is the characteristic, yeah, the meaning, grammatical, that can be realized at least in two different forms. So when we speak about the category of number, it really exists in both languages because we have singular and plural forms, okay, in both languages. So we can speak about the category of quantity, that is the general meaning of that category. And it can be realized in the plural or in the singular form in both languages. In English, it's obligatory to use then indefinite article if we mean a singular form and mean the meaning of one, because so historically it is the pronoun one. That is why it's used only in singular. And in these very meanings sometimes, for example, 100 of people were gathered, so it means 100 of people. Well, or for example, not a word was spoken in the room. Не одного слова, тобто жодного. Просто жоден в українській мові це не один. Тому я вам так перекладаю, звичайно, ми так не кажемо, ми кажемо жодного слова, але мається на увазі не одного слова не було промовлено в кімнаті. Well, so not a word was spoken in the room. We use, yes, in the meaning of one. Then, generalization, we can express the typical for any representative of some group or class. For example, the cat is a domestic animal. A domestic animal, so an animal, yes. So, in fact, it is meaning of any here to be precise, if in terms of practical grammar for you. Yes, because when you learn rules, you learn from the practical grammar, you learn that the English indefinite article has several meanings. The meaning of one, the meaning of any, the general meaning, and then you use indefinite article. For example, a cat is a domestic animal. It means any cat is a domestic animal. But when you want to express very abstract idea, not every cat, generally the cat, if you see, generally the woman is, for example, gentle. Yes, and the man is more rough, for example. Yeah, it doesn't mean that every woman is gentle or every man is rough. Yeah, because sometimes men can be gentle and kind and very tender, and vice versa. Women can be very rough, tough, and so on. But it is like stereotype, you see. So when we speak in very abstract, very general terms, its meaning is called generic, and then we use the definite article. That is the meaning here. And indiscreteness, it is with uncountable nouns like nouns and material that we cannot put into pieces, like milk into drops. We do not count milk with in terms of drops, or we don't count money in English in terms of some coins. In English, it's something unique that is different between English and Ukrainian, by the way. Inside details, that is what I mentioned when translators, future translators, interpreters, when they don't learn in details grammar, they cannot translate. And in these details, that money in English, it's unit, inseparable, and Ukrainian. It is a collection of something, is expressed in singularity in English only and always. Money is good, for example, or is bad. And in Ukrainian, it's always plural. Гроші – це погано, бо гроші – це добре. So it is plural. And in English, it's singular. In these peculiarities, yeah, everything. That is why it's very important for translators, interpreters, and future philologists, yeah, to learn, of course, all the subjects and aspects of the language, but grammar, it is about speech. And once you deal with texts, you deal with speech, then you should know grammar, first of all. You cannot know the meaning of the word. It's not, tragic. You can look through the dictionary. But if you do not know the structure and its meaning and its function, you cannot translate. You can, of course, translate somehow, yeah, but then it won't be professional. So the category of number, what is here? Yes, so generally nothing special. You can have this presentation and the slides. It is the repetition of what I have mentioned. Let's move to the peculiarities. So here it is expressed that there are some peculiarities in the English, that it's not only about plurality that is expressed with the help of S. It can be sometimes root changes. In Ukrainian, we also have opposimes. I mean that different forms to express singular and plural. And we deal with злічувані and незлічувані іменники. But it's rather, again, to lexical meaning than to grammatical characteristic, okay, within the Ukrainian language. So within the Ukrainian language, we have another thing. It is that we have a variety of endings, plural endings, according to the cases, the category of case, you see? So it's not enough, like in English, we learned a root, roots, great. We know that it's plural. Okay, we add ending s. Or for example, we learned datum, data in plural. Okay, we remember. We have learned a group of words that have some special ending. But these are just two forms. While in Ukrainian, you learn, okay, mama, mommy, mommy, and so on, 7, yes, different singular, and then 7 different plural forms. Okay, 14 forms for one word. It's okay, a lot, yeah? To compare things, just the way we express plural in English and plural in Ukrainian, and the way we have some exceptions in English that we should learn. Okay, they are incomparable with those forms that we have in Ukrainian. This huge and vastly developed system of declension in the Ukrainian language. Yeah, so just a little bit to learn that. Okay, some of nouns they don't have plural s, they just have singular and plural the same. Carp, pike, trout, salmon, grouse, sheep, deer, swine, place, and so on. And some Latin and Greek, that's really not too many, okay, compared to the Ukrainian language. For example, elga, elgi, larva, larvae, stimulus, stimuli, terminus, termini, okay, cactus, cacti, okay, so if to speak about, якщо про кактуси вже говорити, все за аналогію. Cactus, cacti, genus, genii. Easy, okay? Nothing difficult, in fact. So just, you know that if you have, sorry, my French, you okay, so first French now and then English. It's okay. So curricula, erratum, errata, etc. Well, and analysis, analyses. By the way, don't forget to change the pronunciation. That is about grammar in connection and phonology. They are together because if you hear analysis, I've done the analysis of that text. It's one analysis. And I've done analyses, already pronounced. So it means a lot of, yes, kind of different bases, ellipsis, ellipses, and so on. Criteria, criterion, sorry, it's again, influence of, okay. Phenomenon, phenomena, so you hear pronounce N, okay? And criteria, phenomena, it's plural. Well, and some group of regular English because, so in fact, these are difficult to remember, all of them, these exceptions, yeah? And as far as these are not so often used, it's easier just to add typical English ending S than trying to remember this Greek or Latin ending, okay? That is why these ones, they have both Latin ending, but if you don't remember, you just put typical English ending, okay? Solo, solos, tempo, tempos, memorandum should be memoranda or memorandums, okay? Well, okay, so typically and historically, English characteristics not borrowed from, for example, Greek or Latin, but they have their origin Anglo-Saxon, yeah, so historical. Children, oxen, man, foot, feet, tooth, teeth, and again, yes, something from Latin and Greek. So these are just generalization. We will read them on the slide. I will skip now. And also comparing two languages. So in Ukrainian, we also have some borrowings that we don't change them, just don't change. If in English they are borrowed and we change the ending according to the language from which we have borrowed something, data, datum, data, yeah, bacterium, bacteria. Then in Ukraine, just don't change some words. No, so it depends on the how long, yeah, how much time has passed that we have borrowed. For example, metro, palto, already they are changeable according to, yes, rules of the English grammar, Ukrainian grammar, sorry. But okay, espresso, it's not changeable, yeah? A borrowed word and we do not change it. Два espresso, дай мені espresso, поклади в espresso, nothing changes, you see? So that is typical English, Ukrainian, and typical English, it's to borrow together with the endings, yeah? with all endings of singular and plural. Well, but in both languages, we speak about singular tantrum, the words that are used only in singular, and those that are used only in plural, pluralia tantrum. For example, goods, товари, clothes, only plural in English. Or, for example, geometry, friendliness, milk. So the same in Ukrainian. So we can say that they are absolute singular or absolute plural, another term, but it is the same. And yeah, so okay, some examples. You will see them on the slide. But we can use for such, if we need to separate and speak about some part of it, we can use some specific words. For example, advice. And we need to separate that it wasn't one advice to show that we had two or three. Yes, and then we use a bit of advice, one bit, two bits of advice, or two pieces of advice, or two items of advice, two sorts of advice, or, for example, two minds of advice. Mine заглиблюватися, як називається у нас? Нафту добуваючи там вугілля, шахта, так? The word a mine, yes, or mines of advice if they are deep, yes, or maybe, okay, okay, don't remember in English. I remember in French, but I don't remember in English. Okay, I'm sorry. So some words are just substituted for now by French because I use it regularly nowadays. Well, and special superlativity, the category of number. It is used only in English, yeah? So it's about the articles, not now to speak. We'll discuss it later. So what is in the Ukrainian language that we can compare things? The same, but as I mentioned, we have a lot of endings here and a lot of exceptions. We divide, so this is ending of plurality depends on whether it is masculine or feminine. If it is, so yes, we have different declension, the first, the second, the third, or the fourth declension. So we should know these characteristics. For foreigners, it's very difficult to learn the Ukrainian language because of all those peculiarities and different characteristics that matter for us, because with all these things we express tiny meanings grammatical, yeah, that it is for somebody to give, so these relations, or to me, yes, take, or with somebody, so all these peculiarities that in English we use prepositions, in Ukrainian we express with the help of endings. And that is why гусеня, гусенята, множина дуже, бачите, не один S ending, like in English, but we have і, ї, і, а, я, и, я, що ще в нас? І, ята, ата, ена. Just imagine, it's all math for foreigners to learn. Yes, but nevertheless, okay. Okay. A lot of, hopefully we can deal with this because it's our native language. Well, and in both languages, we can speak about collective. Here are examples. Кінота, humanity, cavalry, людство. Copper, glass, мідь, скло, and abstract nouns. Knowledge, health, знання, здоров'я. By the way, you see, so here it is, we speak about singular tantrum. They are all used in singular. Well, and only in plural. Scissors, spectacles, trousers, tongs, кліщі, наприклад, in Ukrainian, yeah? And in Ukrainian, only in plural. Вила, ворота, граблі, сани. While in English, these are singular. Have a look. Pitchfork, gate, rake, sledge. So it's important to know when you translate things that our singular, tantrum is expressed through our plural tantrum always. Well, some more examples here. You can have a look already. And to sum up, So in both languages, we have the category of number. In both languages, we have specific endings to express the plurality, singularity. In both languages, we deal with singular tension and plural tension. The words which are used only in singular or only in plural, they don't have the opposite forms. And there are also, in English specifically, we have some words with ending S that get lexicalized meaning, and it is developed into a separable part of the stem. Inseparable. It is part of the stem. Це частина корення. Це насправді не ending, not ending, okay? So, for example, mathematics, optics, linguistics, mumps, measles. When you do the analysis morphological, you should remember that it is the stem. Це такий корінь великий, okay? Optics. It's not a separable element. Well, but you know about that when you learn and compare things, okay? So also, what is in Ukrainian, you see, with examples and some more examples, yeah, characteristics of nouns. It's conclusion for that reason. I just show you the slides because of the time, and I'd like to move to another category to describe, okay? So, and this distinctive differences, those which are different in the languages. So that is, we have some names of animals, birds, and fishes that are unchangeable. Riba, ribы, but in English, fish, fish, yeah. Deer, deer, snipe, pike, and so on. Also, we quantities, we do not change into plural. 2 stone, 4 score, 3 dozen, 5 pair, not in plural. Yes, keep in mind that. And yeah, the same here it is 5'8", not feet. Yes, so not changeable in English. Well, advices, by the way, it's not, yes, so you can come across, but it's not correct from the point of grammar. You should use a piece of advice, pieces of advice, and so on. Sometimes it is used, but because of, because of the people who, okay, do not deal properly with grammar. It's colloquial English. Well, and a lot of others examples and differences. So you will find out in the slide. The next category, the category of case, just a few words because we're lack of time, but nevertheless, well, in both languages we have, as far as this category, I mean, as far as you understand, they differ greatly because in Ukrainian we have cases, while in English, okay, it's, let's say, because in practical grammar, you will learn that at least two we can have the genitive case and the common case, okay? The genitive clearly shows and has the characteristic of this apostrophe S or preposition F if we don't use apostrophe S, and or so just the word without these 4 months, and then it is common case. That's all. And some grammarians, they say that we don't have in English the category of case nowadays. Yeah, it was historically, and you learned that with Natalia Petrina, but not nowadays. Okay, but at least we have two forms different, with apostrophe S and without. In Ukrainian, the situation is, yeah, quite difficult. Because, so that is about English language and theories, explaining how many cases we have. But okay, from the point of practical grammar, let's say two forms. So common and the genitive, okay? In the Ukrainian 6 or 7, we speak about 6 or 7 because this seventh case, not all nouns they have, yeah? So we can't call, for example, I don't know what we can't call. Well, I don't know, because poetically, yes, we can imagine anything as a human being, and we can call, for example, water or kindness, we can address to such phenomena. But I'm sure that there are, if it is mentioned here, I can't just right now give you proper example, but there are some words to which we cannot just address because of logics, yeah, and some reasonable communication. But okay, in the mind of some poet or writer, everything is possible. You see, so it's about stylistics, and stylistics. It's a very interesting subject. Also, I deliver this course, but it's another thing, different from grammar. It's violation, in fact, of grammar. For that reason, we don't speak it here about this possibility. So generally, we speak that sometimes, for example, to libretto we cannot address, yeah, or to trumeau, for example. It would be strange, yeah. But okay, ми до дира було ж звертання, думаю, ми до дира. Yeah, okay, so then it's possible. It is stylistic already. It's not, it is imaginative, yeah, situation. Well, then, yeah, so there are differences. And of course, nevertheless, in Ukrainian and in English, you will see, so this is that apostrophe S in English we have, and some nouns they don't have. They have just one form, okay? The category of case is not relative for them. And in Ukrainian only, we can have, yeah, different meanings like accusative, nominative, instrumental, and so on. That is essential for us to know, because then we put in definite position this noun, this form, express the function, syntactical function in the sentence. So, for example, the subject of the sentence or object of the sentence, we know that if it is the noun in the nominative case, okay, so it is the subject of the sentence always, yeah? And otherwise, in another case, when the noun is used, then it performs some other function, not the subject of the sentence, and so on. Well, in English, we speak about common and possessive. In English, nevertheless, the possessive case has a number of meanings. As you can see, it's very vast classification. Why? I suppose because it's important from the lexical, rather characteristic, and yes, the function may be to understand how to translate. Yes, these correlations. That is why so many meanings are discussed. For translators and interpreters, yeah, it's obligatory to know all these meanings, because then you know how to translate. Once you know what can be expressed with this apostrophe S, and this apostrophe S, it's not added to the word. It can be added to a group of words or even to a sentence within the sentence. This apostrophe S that shows the possession. It's in fact why it is discussed that it is not the formant of the noun, but it's generally the formant that expresses the relation between ideas, because the idea can be expressed with the word combination, and the whole sentence. And then the whole sentence can be taken as the whole unit to which we add apostrophe S to express one of those meanings. Okay, that is why it's important to know all these meanings. Well, and yeah, so some examples of Prime Minister of England's residence, and it's not, yes, it can be Luna, much Luna, okay? So somebody else's book, and so on. Okay, yes, and here it is. In Ukrainian, yeah, a lot of peculiarities. In fact, you will find in the slide So these are names of the cases in the Ukrainian system of conjugation or declension, yeah. And yes, so generally, guys, during I think I have no, I don't have the last slide to say you goodbye and thank you for your attention. It seems to me that it's okay, not properly worked out my presentation. I should add that slide, but nevertheless, I wish you to have a good mood. Thank you for being present, being with me. And of course, we will discuss and compare practically during the seminar. See you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Goodbye.
Bye.